Hey everybody, welcome back to Cheap Brew. I'm Anthony, and today we're going to get started making another beer, and this time it's a stout. This beer is something interesting that I haven't tried. It's going to be a little bit bigger batch. I'm thinking it's going to end up between 3 and 5 gallons. Just bought a brand new fermenter for that, so I'm excited to use it. Now, the technique is a little bit of dry malt extract and a little bit of grain. So we're going to start with a mash. I've got 2 pounds of milled base malt that I got at the local homebrew store. I also ended up with about 1.25 pounds of unmilled grain that I kind of crushed up with a rolling pin as best as I could. It breaks down to about 1/2 pound of really dark roasted barley and a little bit kind of like an amber crystal 40 or 60 kind of roast. As far as the dry malt goes, I got 1 pound of dark dry malt extract and 3 pounds of light malt extract. For the hops, we're going to be using Willamette hops, 2 ounces. I'm just going to go for it. Again, use the whole thing, 1 ounce at the beginning and 1 ounce at the very end. And for yeast, we're using American West Coast ale yeast. So I've already got started by heating up 8 quarts of water in this massive pot that I just got with the fermenter. And I've got the grain bag in it. And we're waiting for the temperature to come up to 135 to 145, somewhere in there, and then we're going to add the grains and get started mashing for about 1 hour. This is my favorite part of brewing. This is the grain part. Hops start to smell a little bit, but the grain, it's just so good. In the end, I am glad that I ended up doing it the grain way. The brew guy talked me into grinding up some of these grains. I was just gonna steep them for this and do like a 2-gallon batch, but with all this grain and the dry malt all being the same, more beer is better, and more beer is gonna look better in these cups. So we're at the halfway mark in our mash, and it's getting a little bit on the cold side. It's between 130, I think is the lowest I measured, and about 136. So I'm gonna go ahead and bump up that low burner to about the 4 or 5 position, and we'll see if that brings the temperature back up. Well, a couple minutes at the 4 or 5 position on the small burner sure did the job. We're sitting about 145 to 140 right now, and I might need to turn it down even a little bit more because I'm starting to watch some of that grain bubble up. Don't want it to get too terribly hot. Also, we're sitting around the 20-minute mark now, so we're gonna go ahead and start getting ready to lauter the grain by putting about 4 or 5 quarts of water into this black pot. We're gonna get that all heated up to about 170 degrees. When the time comes, I'm gonna bring up this grain bag, tie it off. I'm gonna try hanging it off of this or something like that, but that's the plan now, is to go ahead and get the water hot for lautering. So we're finished with our mash now, and it's time to rinse the grains over my big pot. I lucked out. I found out that the regular kitchen strainer fits over the big pot. So I'm gonna go ahead and try to stick the big bag of grain in the strainer and then pour the 1 gallon of lautering water at 170 degrees over that, and then we'll get started with the boil. So the lautering is done. The strainer, however, that technique didn't work. However, I did find a couple of doorknob things on the cupboard there to tie the bag to, which was in just the right spot for me to be able to drain it, which is a very useful trick that I'll use for next time. It'll be fun explaining why those handles fell off. Anyways, lautering is done, and we are now ready to start the boil. So, as the water's heating up, I'm gonna go ahead and add my malt extract and stir that all up until it's dissolved, and we'll start by adding our first hop addition a little later. Let's start it at about 45 minutes, and then we'll do the next one at about 10 minutes. So the boil has officially started. It took a long time to get all this wort heated up to a boil compared to what I'm used to, which is just the 1 gallon batches. This took like 3 times as long because there's 3 gallons in there. So next, at the 45-minute mark, we're gonna add our first round of hops, which is the 1 ounce of Messiah hops. I'm gonna put it in a little muslin bag, toss it in there for the rest of the boil, and just yank it out when I'm done with that. Maybe I'll tie it to the edge or something, whatever works. We've got 30 minutes to go until our next edition and not a lot to do, so I'm gonna try to clean up the kitchen and get some cool shots of the grain and try to make it a little bit more easy when we need to transition to chilling the wort. And that's gonna be cool because I have a brand new toy to use. So the only thing I really have to do to get ready for this wort chiller is to take off my water filter, and there's a little connection that just kind of screws right onto the other part, and you can snap it onto one of these hoses on the wort chiller. It's pretty neat. There's 20 minutes to go, which means in about 5 minutes I'm going to add our last round of hops, let those 15 minutes finish out, and then we're going to cool the wort down with our fancy wort chiller, which has been sanitized, and then we'll be ready to check the gravity once we get it into the catalyst fermenter, which has also been sanitized. So, we've just finished chilling the wort. It's time to add it to the fermenter and check the gravity of it after adding maybe another gallon, because I think we lost a gallon in the boil off. And then I'm going to see if we can get away with adding a little bit more water to it and scoot it up to maybe 4 or 5 gallons. So, I filled it up to 3 gallons, and we have a gravity of 1.075, almost 8.0. That's about 10%. I could squeeze another gallon out of this. Let's try to get it down up to 4 gallons and see if we can hit it around the 8% mark. That should be pretty good. So I'm pretty happy. I got exactly 8% potential at 1.060 and 3 gallons and 3 quarts. So almost 4 gallons, and you could say it was 4 gallons if you count the quart below. I'm not sure if that actually weighs into the markings on the thing, but I don't know. Well, it's a 4-gallon batch. Look at that. Oh my god, I've never made so much beer. So the important thing to do next is we're going to stir it up with the little brew stir stick and aerate it, give it some oxygen, and then we're going to throw the yeast in it, and we're going to let it sit. I think there should be enough headroom that I don't have to use a blow-off tube for this one. I'm just super excited that it actually worked out. Okay, so that's done. The beer is tucked away nicely in a closet, fermenting away with its ale yeast in there. For me though, I have a lot of cleaning to do and about 15 days of waiting and occasionally checking in to see how my little beer project is doing. Sure as hell beats the 1-gallon batches that I have been doing, assuming all works out. The total cost was about $25. So if it doesn't work out, it's not the end of the world, but I'm pretty sure it will. Everything's been pretty well sanitized. In the meantime, I guess I better clean up and go to bed. Good night. So it's day 9 of fermentation, and I am happy to say that it is bottling day. The Krausen has fallen off the beer, and our gravity is 1.010, which means we're sitting at a solid 6.5%. In anticipation of filming this segment, I've already gone ahead and sanitized 29 22-ounce bottles and 29 bottle caps. I'm anticipating about 20 to 25 22-ounce bottles. Also, while waiting for the camera's secondary battery to charge, I have gone ahead and made the priming mixture. I usually use 0.8 ounces of corn sugar for the priming mixture per gallon, and I only had a 4-ounce bag starting off 2 batches ago, so I'm left with about 2.6 ounces. I went ahead and dumped it into the catalyst fermentation system, and we are ready to rock and roll, because earlier today I got rid of the yeast that's chilling at the bottom, and we are ready to bottle. So let's get right into bottling. Well, that was a lot more work than the 1-gallon batches. I got 20 22-ounce bottles, although it works out to be more like 19.5 to 19.75 bottles, because this bottle is only about half to 3/4 of the way full. I'm not too worried about that though, because I have 19 of these bad boys filled up to the brim. Look at that little hop. See the hop? Love the hop. I think that might have been the best $100 I've ever spent in my life. Fermenter, pot, 24 bottles, bottle caps, bags, wort chiller. Everything is so cool when you have a wort chiller. Anyway, we're gonna take our 20 bottles and we're gonna stick them back into their original bottle box, and I'm gonna let them carbonate in the closet where we were fermenting. That's gonna happen for about 14 to 28 days. I'm super excited to find out what these taste like, and hopefully I'm not totally thrown for a loop. In the meantime, I have so much cleaning to do. I'll catch you in 2 weeks. Well, it's been 15 days since we bottled our beer, and it is officially time to try it. Not for the first time for me, but this is the first time actually giving it an in-depth review at 14 days. I will tell you, at 7 days there is just a little bit of carbonation, but not much, and there wasn't much of a head to it when we popped the top, but I know we don't care about that stuff, so let's get into the taste of the beer. So, stout, maybe. This is like the fine line that it rides between being an amber and a stout. It does have a nice dark color to it and a very beautiful glass to sit in. The smell is again, it rides that fine line between amber and stout. It's kind of thick smelling, to be honest, a little syrupy. Why is that hair in there? So now, the moment you've been waiting for, the taste. That's pretty good. It, like I said, just a little bit of stout. At this point I can tell it's a little bit bitter as well. With the last beer I made, that went away after a little while. As far as carbonation goes, this could use a little bit more time, I think, to sit, but it's a good beer. It's better than my last beer was at this stage. Overall, I would say that's a pretty successful brew, especially considering that I think I got 20 out of it, and that's gonna last me quite a while. And I also got a chance to use my cups, my own custom-made cheap brew cups, for a project that I have done. I'm very happy about this. But again, this is good. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.